Okay, welcome everyone to our October regular meeting, October 17th, 2024. First on business is call the order.
Mr. Ferguson is absent. Mr. Keller?
Present.
Ms. Savage?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Keller?
Here. And the second is Pledge of Allegiance, if you'd join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the next thing, we need a motion for the adoption of the agenda as written.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? We're ready for a vote.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes. And now we're up to recognition, so
Sure, if the board would like to have a stand in front of the steps, that would be great. And we'll have, I think, Katie Morgan and Scott Bennett come up and do our recognition for national merit honorees.
The red one? The red one. Okay. Helps if you hit the button. Apologies. So good evening. My name is Katie Morgan. I'm here this evening with Mr. Scott Bennett, principal of ECHS, and Mr. Sean Williams, the other assistant principal of Marysville High School. Tonight, we are afforded the opportunity to recognize students from Marysville High School and Marysville Early College High School who are commended and semifinalist National Merit Scholars. The National Merit Scholarship Corporation recognizes and honors academically talented students in the United States. High school students enter the National Merit Scholarship Program by taking the PSAT in October of their junior year. Of those students, roughly 34,000 students are designated as commended students or semifinalists based on their score. These students receive a letter of commendation. Approximately 16,000 high schoolers, representing less than 1% of the nation's high school graduating seniors, qualify as semifinalists. Only semifinalists will have an opportunity to advance in the competition by filling out an application, taking the SAT exam, and completing some other program requirements. Finalists can qualify for scholarships ranging from a one-time $2,500 award to a $10,000 annually renewable award when combining national merit, corporate sponsored scholarships, and college sponsored scholarships. It is our privilege to congratulate these students. Your administrators here will call your name, present you with a certificate. If you want to come up here, get your certificate, and then we'll definitely make sure we have an opportunity for photos to celebrate you.
Thanks, Katie. So I get to announce our Marysville Early College High School awardees. So our first one is Samantha Epstein, who is awarded with the National Rural and Small Town Award. Congratulations, Sam. Yep, there you go. Next up, we have Alexi Fernandez Busto, who was recognized with the National Hispanic Recognition Award, as well as being a National Merit Scholarship semifinalist. I don't think Alexi is here. And then next up, we have Andrew Montgomery, who was recognized as one of the National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. And lastly, we had Quinn Peterson, who is a National Rural and Small Town Award finalist.
We have Aurelia Inskeep,
is a National Merit semifinalist. We have Lena Olson. I don't think she's here. Amelia Russell and Levi Weithman. Congratulations.
Our next honoree, I would like to call Tiffany Erdelt, if you want to come up. Tiffany? Now, explain a little bit. I think this is the first time, at least in my tenure here, so 13 years, that we have had a teacher be honored as Columbus Monthly's Elementary Teacher of the Year. So that award went to Tiffany, who teaches for us at Raymond Elementary. So and I do think it's a great story. It was a grandparent who nominated Tiffany, and Tiffany has had the pleasure of serving 3 of her grandchildren, and she just really wanted to recognize Tiffany's great work and her investment in her children, grandchildren, and what a great way to celebrate that. So there was a little voting competition in the summer, that type of thing, but I think the initial nomination really came at the heart of what we do here in Marysville, and I'm really proud of you. Thank you very much. Sure. All right, next on our agenda is Employee of the Month. So if I could go ahead and have Michelle Coder from Creekview come forward. And Michelle, I get to read all the wonderful things that your peers said about you to get this nomination. So I am writing to nominate Michelle Coder for Classified Employee of the Month. Michelle is an essential and invaluable member of our team whose contributions impact nearly every aspect of our organization. Her dedication to our students is unmatched. She is always kind, compassionate, and goes out of her way to ensure their needs are met. In her role in the front office, she provides outstanding customer service, consistently representing our school community with professionalism and grace, even in the most challenging situations. Her influence on our school culture is truly remarkable. Michelle is just not a colleague, but a great teammate and a friend to so many of us. She has been integral in supporting a new school secretary, ensuring a smooth transition, and her deep institutional knowledge of our building and district is something that even I, as principal, often rely on. Michelle is adored by everyone she works with, and it's easy to see why. She is smart, a great problem solver, an excellent communicator, and incredibly trustworthy. Her student-centered approach and fun, positive attitude make her an outstanding role model for all of us. For these reasons and many more, I believe Michelle can coder deserves to be recognized as Classified Employee of the Month. Congratulations.
Okay, since we have no public participation, we'll move on to presentations. The first one up is Marysville FFA chapter. Probably.
Hi guys. We're gonna first off start by introducing ourselves. I'm Riley Karcher and I'm the president.
I'm Abby Thompson and I'm the reporter.
And I'm Brandon Fan and I'm the treasurer.
We're gonna start off by giving you an overview of what we've been up to for the past couple months. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop us and ask us. So first off is all of our national chapter and awards and stuff. So last May, we got recognized at the state level for being gold rated, 3-star, and top 10 in every category. And then we also placed top 10 overall. At the national level, we've been gold rated and we are a 3-star chapter as well. And also in May at the state convention, all 3 of the officer books were gold rated, which that's the highest they can be. And the secretary was Brody Kearns, treasurer was Austin Bennett, and reporter was Riley Karcher. So we've been starting to work on our program of activities, which we call the POAs. And some cool activities that we've been doing is the paper bags. And we went to every elementary school in Marysville, and we read them a book. And then they got to decorate a paper bag that then was sent to Kroger's, and people could shop for their groceries in and enjoy their nice colored bag that an elementary student made for them. Another one is the gift of grain, and that's where farmers, when they take their grain to Heritage, they can donate bushels of corn, soybeans, and wheat, and then all the proceeds go back to the chapter to help the students during whatever activities that we're doing. And farmer care packages, which is also at Heritage, where the students are making them like little gift bags, and they have first aid supplies, farmer mental health facts, and all kinds of goodies in them. Some upcoming CDEs that we have going on right now. There's a lot, and we've all been super busy right now. So a CDE is events and competitions that students go to and compete with other students that are all over the state of Ohio. And there's 50 total CDEs that are offered in Ohio. Some that we're really excited about right now is parliamentary procedure, and that's where students learn how to run a meeting and do abilities and learn how to debate on different motions. Our first contest will be in November. Landscape Olympics, they placed 8th as a team. This was last week. One of the students, Logan, he placed 6th individually, and then Tristan got 10th individually as well. We also have job interview, which is where students learn how to make a resume and then apply for a fake job, and they learn how to go about all of that stuff. Ag, Mech, and Tech, and that's more like on the shop side of things. And then animal management, they just took a test a couple days ago, and I don't think the results have came back yet. But we'll be waiting for that result as well.
All right, I'm here to talk about our 8th grade program, which has just started in the past couple years. It's been a great addition to us and some of our activities that we have. And at Bunsold, we have Mrs. Gist running the agricultural classes there, and students love it. We have 155 8th graders in an ag class, and 20 of them are actually FFA members. And the 8th grade members also get to participate in some of our FFA events that we do, like certain meetings and things, just to get them kind of a little taste of what it's like so that they're really encouraged to come and join us later. And this has really sparked a lot of kids' interest, and we actually had quite a few join us this year as freshmen. So I think that really is a good thing starting up. So we also have, we also have a lot of 7th grade students involved as well. But they're mostly they're just in an ag class at Bunsold. They don't get to participate in the FFA things yet, but they definitely get it from word of mouth from the 8th graders and are definitely excited to come join us in another year or so. And we have 48 7th graders involved in an ag class. So they are great additions, and they're starting to learn early what it's like to be a big high schooler in FFA. And along with that, the 8th graders also have certain CDEs they can do, as Riley talked about before. But theirs are a lot more like introductory level, a lot of like basics of FFA and things like that, not as advanced and time consuming as ours are. But they have the career presentation, the quiz bowl, career conversation, and impact of agriculture. So we love our 8th grade program, and I think it's really helping us out with our members and things. And like I said, they get a little taste and helps them decide on which high school to go to and all of that. So the next thing are our degrees that you can receive in FFA. First up, we have our chapter degree. We had 6 recipients that got this in the past spring. Myself, Angelina Myers, Katie Sargent, Natalie Williams, Abby Thompson, and Tristan Lehner. This is the 3rd degree that you can get, and the prerequisites include 10 hours of community service, filling out the application form, 50 hours or $150 earned in their SAE project, which is our supervised agricultural experience, which is a project that we have running all throughout the school year, or for some of us all throughout high school, which is part of being in an ag class, and it gets you extra credit and things like that. But a lot of students are really proud of theirs. And so some of the things from that qualify for your chapter degree, as well as just being an overall involved member, showing interest in our organization and things like that. And many of these members, including myself that received it, plan on getting their state degree or going for it in the spring, which leads me into that. The prerequisites for the state degree are they need to make $2,500 in their SAE project and have 25 hours of community service, and also be quite involved in the chapter and mostly on a larger scale than just showing up to some events and stuff. This past May at our state FFA convention, we had 3 recipients, Riley Karcher, Brody Kearns, and Austin Bennett. So that's our state degree. That one's a really nice one to get. And then on after that, we have our American degree. This is the highest degree that you can receive in FFA. For this degree, you need to earn $10,000 and have 50 community service hours. And on this degree, only about 2% of FFA members receive this. And we have 3 people receiving it next week when we go to National Convention, being Ava Pratt, Emerson Trapp, and Matthew Volrath. So like I said, they'll be receiving that next week when we go to National Convention in Indianapolis. So we are excited to see them walk across the stage and represent Marysville. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is our Green Hands, which are the freshmen, beginning members, things like that. We have Green Hand Boot Camp coming up where all of the officers come together and teach them about the basics of FFA, the FFA creed, the motto, how to properly wear official dress, all of the things that they need to know, which is coming up on November 4th, and that is their prerequisite for getting the green hand degree, which is the beginning one. And their ceremony to receive theirs will be after our December meeting on the 12th. So that does it for me.
Alumni and community involvement. We have 120 paid alumni members. Our alumni are just advocates for our program. They help us bounce ideas off of them for activities we're doing in our chapter. They also help us with CDE teams and running events and invitationals. We're working to build partnerships with them for our internship program. We have several alumni in that, and then last week we did Picnic with the Pros, which is where members get to meet with some of those alumni and industry professionals. We teach them that most business meetings are had over a meal, and some got to make resumes in their ag class to show to those pros and got a little bit of feedback on those. And then our Monarch Market, we started with the special needs teachers to help students who need a little help getting food or such. And we donated $3,000 with a grant that we applied for and got. Next thing, upcoming events. Today, actually, we just had our Bluebird Combine event that residents from Bluebird got to come out, and we just had conversations with them and got them to take a ride in the Combine. And then at the end of this month, we're having National FFA Convention on October 23rd through the 25th. Members are very excited for that. And then Culver's FFA Share Night is November 11th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you come, you don't have to have a flyer or say anything. Just a percentage of that goes to the chapter. Farmers CPR class is you are able to sign up now, and that is for free. It is November 17th. Fruit sale delivery will be December 11th. If you are interested in purchasing or taking a look at what we have to offer, you can contact a member you know, and we'll get you hooked up. You have to order before November 1st. And then last thing is our Germany, Austria, and Switzerland trip during spring break from March 23rd to April 2nd. Students are just going to get a chance to see agricultural from an international perspective, and there'll be a little bit of historical landmarks that they'll get to check out, but mostly a focus on sustainable agriculture.
Thank you guys for having us, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us now, or if you think of something later, you can always ask us.
Well, you did very, 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 very well. I just had one critique. There was a state recipient that you left off the list. I don't know if Mrs. Allen's upset about that or not, but anyway, not your fault.
Thank you.
And I'm not upset. It should be all about you.
Yeah, I think this trip to Austria, Germany, and Switzerland is a great opportunity for you to see a part of the world and how agriculture happens in that area. Is this the first international trip that our FFA has been involved in?
I'm not 100% sure on that, but Miss Anderson can have more details about that.
Actually, our second international trip. 3 years ago, I took students to BOE, and so we got to see agriculture and this is environmental science in Central America. So this is our first European
you know, I've had an opportunity to travel a little bit, and I can tell you it's altering in terms of your perspective of the world and what's going on. And whenever our students have an opportunity to grow and see how interconnected things really are, and agriculture is certainly an international industry. I think that's marvelous, and I would encourage these kinds of experiences for our students going forward. So thank you for what you're doing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
And next we have the high school presentation and STEM school presentation at the same time, I believe.
On behalf of Mr. Chafin, Mrs. Morgan and I are presenting for the high school, and we are going to talk about our pathways at MHS. As Mrs. Morgan and myself were going over our notes and our presentation earlier today, we were talking, and one thing dawned on me: there's a few overarching things between all of our pathways that they have in common, and the biggest thing I think is there's a leadership component that is highly involved in all pathways, and I think that is such an important piece that we don't want to overlook. They all have leadership components, leadership teams, and that's one thing that I think really brings kids together, and it also gives kids a sense of belonging to the school. A lot of kids have that through sports or theater or those kind of things. This is just another opportunity for kids to feel a part of school and a sense of engagement. Next slide. Oh, do we? I didn't know.
There you
go. First, I'm going to talk about agriculture. We've always had a very robust agriculture department. We have what has really come over the last few years is the internships and the industry credentials. Last year in ag, they had 23 industry credentials. This year, we've already issued 9, and it's just really come a long way the last few years. We've had 2 students get a Briggs & Stratton certification, which is extremely difficult. And we keep having kids step up to the plate and earn these credentials, and they're not always easy. We have some that are easier than others. We have OSHA credentials that are a little bit easier, not as many points for their graduation requirements, but then we have some others that are higher credentials. We also have a lot of kids that are in the animal science program that earn credentials there. We have CPR. We have first aid, and so we have a lot of different opportunities, diverse opportunities to earn industry credentials and really increase their employability. Next is business, and Mrs. Morgan's going to talk about that.
Our business pathway has seen a pretty significant amount of growth just in my time at the high school, and certainly I know predating me as well. And our 3 staff members certainly led and springboarded that work. But to Sean's point, the leadership from the students that really act as ambassadors within the business program is just tremendous. So a couple of things that I wanted to share about our business pathway and programs. I think students learn some of the most transferable skills in that pathway of any of their courses, and I also in part think that because that's what students tell me anecdotally, that the things that they're learning, they say, well, Mrs. Morgan, no matter what job I go into or what field I'm in, I'm learning stuff in my business class that I'm going to need as a student or any kind of professional in the future. And that's highlighted, I think, within the credentials that are available. Also, the expansion of our National Business Honor Society. That's an event I know you all as a board are invited to each year. When you go to an event like that, it almost feels like a microcosm of business in Union County. To see that community partnership and that balance of the adults that are movers and shakers in the business world, along with our student leadership in business, that's a pretty special event that is a testament to the work and the growth of that community and that partnership. Also, our DECA students that's advised by Bailey Hemmelgarn, but certainly is also supported by the work and the learning of Mrs. Burns and Mrs. Gordon. They're not just competing at a state level anymore. We've always had the opportunity to go down to the convention center and see them all dressed up, ready to solve whatever problem the judges give them that they have to share solutions for. But we have students that are now qualifying to compete and are competing very successfully on a national level. So it is a very competitive program with a lot of leadership opportunities and transferable skills.
This is one of our newest pathways. We were very fortunate to get Mrs. Blackburn from Tolles to come out and help us get this pathway going. She has definitely hit the ground running. She has surrounded our kids with industry professionals. They were Friday night football game. We had a broadcast that was done from our field, and they were in the production booth and got to see the behind the scenes of a professional production. They've taken a field trip to the Ohio State University and gotten to see some of the behind the scenes there. You constantly see them with their cameras out in our halls, taking pictures and doing things. She definitely came to us with some experience, and that is definitely a plus for our school. She also has hosted a BPA, Business Professionals of America, leadership conference at our school just this week. There were 2 other schools invited to that, and it was a very successful event. The kids got a lot of opportunity to take part in leadership activities and network with other students that are in the same field. And she also has formed a advisory council similar to the one that AG has, and she has a team of industry professionals that she's lined up that are going to come in and give feedback from industry.
Our performing arts pathway is one that I know everybody is familiar with because you cannot see a better performance, including downtown Columbus, truly. If you've had the opportunity to go to any of our show choir, theater, band, any of the arts performances, you know how special it is. It's professional level quality. So while there are, a number of courses that I won't read off to you, something that our performing arts pathway does that is super special and really opened my eyes is opening students and families' eyes to careers beyond being a performer. So when we think about students that are on a performing arts pathway, generally we're thinking about being a musician or an actor and the person on the stage. And most of our courses, when you take a look at those, really are kind of all of the supporting roles, if you will, that are also very critical. So opening up the holistic understanding of what it takes and the amount and diverse type of talent it takes to put on any kind of production, whether that be technology, house management, administration type of roles, the production that happens in Mr. Ahern's class where we see students with saws and building and things out in our outside on the concrete, it's pretty incredible. Music therapy is also another career that we have a lot of students who are interested in looking into beyond high school and into their college academic careers. But I think that that's something that is really unique and special about that pathway, is that it's not just open to or welcoming and growing performers. It's that holistic sort of what does it take to put on any kind of artistic production approach. And I would be remiss tonight when we talked about pathways if we didn't talk about our special programming in CAPS. Our CAPS program is our Continuing Achievement and Post-Secondary Success student group led by Mr. Montgomery. And those students learn employability, life skills, school to work transition, and future readiness. It is typically for students who are 18 and older and are either deferring graduation or continuing their education with us through special services. And the community partnership, and not to mention the gift of coffee through their coffee cart that the teachers appreciate, is something that I know we're really proud of as a building, because it's a testament to Pathways being for all students and being inclusive and making sure that we're serving and getting every student that attends Marysville High School future ready, whatever their passions are and whatever that looks like for them. So I just wanted to make sure that we also recognized that group tonight.
One thing I just want to add before we wrap up here. Last year, we added Amy Wagner to our internship staff, along with Mrs. Anderson. And last year, we had 33 interns that worked a total of 6,627 hours, and they earned $63,155 last year. And not all of the internships were paid. So those were the dollars that were earned through paid internships. So I think that deserves some recognition. That is definitely a positive for our building and something that we've been working on and expanded the last couple of years. So, any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple for Katie. First of all, I'd like to say I missed the CAPS program and the coffee in the morning the worst. Something about the front door being locked to me on that. And then also, what's a music therapist, if you know?
So I can't speak to it from a professional stance, but I can share what I know just from like what some of our kids have told me. They teach me as much as, I think that I teach them some days. So music therapy can look like a number of things. It can look like using instruments or learning instruments to cope with social, emotional health, a calming technique. If you are a high stress, high anxiety person, that can be used as a coping skill. I don't know how this is used, but I know that they will listen to certain types of music and talk about like journaling and conversation, kind of talk therapy about how different sorts of music can support mental and emotional health. And that is as in-depth as I could probably speak about it.
Thank you. That was my guess, but you know what happens when you guess.
That's right. All right, thank you. We'll turn it over to Mr. Bennett.
All right, thank you. So I get to speak about the pathways that we have at the early college high school. And I wanted to start with just kind of our definition of what a pathway actually is. So when we start looking at a pathway, pathways are going to be at least 4 different courses that a student's going to take. They can take more than that. When we get into showing some of the courses that are available, you'll see there's actually quite a few that they're able to choose from there. Those are all going to be aligned to in-demand careers in the state of Ohio. So as we develop these pathways, really what we're looking for are what are those high-demand careers that our students can go into and make a good living here in Central Ohio. Regardless of which pathway a student chooses, they still have the ability to earn credentials that lead to certifications and employment. So again, in all of those pathways, there's going to be different credentials that are involved with those. And then all of the pathways are going to include opportunities for internship and capstone as well. So again, just like MHS was talking about, all of our students go out there to do those internships. This year, I think we have right around 70% of our seniors are enrolled in an internship. What do pathways have in common? Again, I think a lot of times when our parents hear about pathways, they think that it's just specific to these careers, and that's part of it, but it also includes all of the other courses that are going to be required for them for graduation. Regardless of what pathway a student chooses, they also have the opportunity to earn college credits. So just because you're working on potentially going into the workforce doesn't mean that you're not also getting those early college opportunities as well. And then pathways include opportunities to select coursework that will lead to an honors diploma. So any of the pathways that we have, our students also have the opportunity to get those honors diplomas because we know that's another thing that's going to be important to them as they start applying to colleges. Pathways that are offered right now, there's 4 that are completely finished, and there's one that's under development, and we'll talk about each one of those here. In the engineering and manufacturing pathway, those students are going to be focused on careers in engineering. I listed a few of the courses that are available up there. Like I said, there's a whole lot of courses that are available. I listed some of them that I thought were pretty unique. When you see the welding technologies program going on down there, that's really cool. Our students are actually engaging in hands-on work there and doing the welding themselves. Robotics, computer integrated manufacturing, intro to design and development are all really good opportunities for our students to get integrated into some of those engineering career fields that you can see listed there under the careers. Oh, I'm sorry. Along with, shoot, can I go back? I think I can. There we go. Along with that one, the CTSO that we work with on there, the career organization that we work with, is Skills USA. Skills USA is one that we are just beginning this year. So we have about 20 students who are signed up for that this year and are going to be able to start beginning to go to some of those national competitions. Our IT pathway, that one, the CTSO for that one is the BPA that was already talked about previously there. So we have students that are participating in that as well. This one is really going to be focused around the programming and web design type courses. We are going to start to work, I believe next week, we're going to a meeting here to start to incorporate a little bit of cybersecurity into this particular pathway, as we know that's another growing career field that our students are really interested in. Our health sciences pathway, again, going to be focused on health science careers. They've got some really cool equipment down there that I think is really unique to have in a high school. We were working with some students the other day on the anatomage table, which I don't know if you've ever seen an anatomage table before, but that is pretty impressive. Students are actually able to take the mannequin there in a 3D model and move it around and manipulate that, which is really, really cool when they do that stuff. Again, some of the credentials there, the STNA, I think one of the really cool things that we're able to do with some of these pathways, when you get into something like that state-tested nursing assistant there, those students are able to then, if they decide to go on to college, I don't know if you guys had a job when you were in college. I had a job when I was in college. I washed pots and pans, and it was awful. Now these are students who can go into college and actually work as a state-tested nursing assistant, making higher wages. So again, I think a lot of times when people look at the pathways, they think about it just as an opportunity to go into the workforce. It's so much more than that, right? It's these things that enable them to go into the workforce, but also enable them to be able to go in and get a head start on a lot of the things for college as well. The auto tech pathway, again, we've got a really cool setup down there. We have an entire auto shop down there on one wing of the building. I've never seen less than 3 cars at a time in there that are up on the hydraulic presses with our students working on them. Some outstanding opportunities for students to be doing some real hands-on work there. They've been working on, I'm not a huge car guy, I'm not going to try and pretend that I am, but I believe it's a 67 Corvette that they've been working on redesigning here for the last year and a half, and that is coming along well and looks really great too. The last one that we have is the one that is under construction right now is our aviation pathway. So in our aviation pathway, again, you can see some of the careers and courses that are aligned to that. This past week, we got our flight simulation modules were delivered, and our students have begin to work on those. I believe tomorrow our drones are supposed to get delivered, so I'm looking forward to the following week, hopefully having our students flying some drones there around the building and getting that going. So that's going to be great too. Right now, the course they're working on is going to get them that Part 107 remote pilot certification, which enables them to be able to go out there and actually start to fly commercial drones. Any questions for the early college high school pathways?
Not for you specifically,
Sure.
but for both high schools. I'm really proud of how Marysville High School has stepped up and matched close to the early college high school's initial step ahead. So congratulations on getting the internship program up and running. I know that's a point of pride for early college high school. I love the presentations that they do every year. I've been attending those for the last 3 or 4 years, so they're always awesome job experiences. I love the flexibility that are being built into all the pathways, whether you're going directly into the workforce or whether you're going into a higher educational degree. either one. I think that's good. It's helping match what each student is looking for. And I love the number of certifications that are available in there. I was trying to count them up as you're going through, but there's 20-some certifications available for students.
And I will say, for most of those certifications, just to make it fit on the slide, I didn't list them all. There's actually quite a few more, too.
So that's awesome opportunities for our students.
Yeah, today I had an opportunity to go on a tour over at the high school, but I know from prior tours over at the early college that everything I'm going to say really applies to both buildings. The digital media, as we were going through, connected with the business owners that were on the tour. And one of the things that jumped out at me was the fact that there were a group of seniors that were in the media center that were working on the equipment, putting things together, working to prepare things. And their goal was not just to do things for themselves, but to get that facility put together so that 2, 3, 4 years from now, after they're gone, students coming into the program will have a better place and a more functional experience with a lot of the equipment. The local business owners, when they saw what was going on, brought up that they have a project that they're beginning to work on, and there may end up being some collaboration between the media students and their particular business. Now, they also have been in the internship program and have had a number of interns that have worked for them. They mentioned specifically one intern that they hired directly from high school to work for them, and got his feet on the ground and had an opportunity for him to grow. So as a former teacher, students oftentimes struggle in understanding how what the school is offering them fits into their lives as they move forward. And one of the most exciting things that I've seen is the development of pathways where students can much earlier in their academic career see the benefits of what their studies are in direct application to things that they have an interest in and will carry forward in the future. So what you've presented us today is the most, for me, the most exciting overall experience that we're offering students in our school system. And I commend you for your guidance on this, and I commend also all the teachers that put the time and effort to make the connections between these pathways and the business community, the industries, particularly the local industries in Central Ohio, where our students will find their future. So thank you. Great presentation. Thank you.
Okay, I just had one comment, and that is if students, and I think that's what Mr. Smith was saying, can see a connection between the classroom and what they're doing, they become more involved, they become less of a problem, and they get interested, and a lot of their problems go away as they do that. On a personal note, I'm very interested to see what you do with the aviation program. Very interested in that. So
I think it's going to be great.
That's all I have. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. Enrollment now is sitting at 5,665 students, which is aligned with our current projections. I also wanted to make sure that we announced Monday night, next Monday, the 21st at 5 p.m. in this room is our last town hall meeting. So we've sent more information out. Everyone in the community received a postcard with those dates on there. So that will be our last kind of fact and information session for community to come in and talk to Todd and I. At the end of September, we had our first parent council. So we had over 100 parents in attendance, split into 4 different large spaces in this building. Our student learning group discussed the science of reading, and we kind of put them through a sample training or lesson that a student might experience. So that was fantastic. The safety and wellness group talked about new cell phone policy and implications for cell phone use and honoring instructional time. Community partnerships actually discussed the internship program and featured some students and business partners. The students stole the show for sure with that group of parents. And then Todd's group with financial stability discussed the 5-year forecast and kind of how to read the 5-year forecast, as well as facts about the upcoming levy. So I feel like anytime you can get over 100 parents involved in the same place, that's a good night. And there was a lot of excitement for sure. We also, for facility planning, we've had our beginning internal meetings to establish the framework and constraints for our first task force meeting. That task force meeting is set up for November 12th. That task force, if you remember last spring, we asked for volunteers from the community to come forward. And we have, I think, 31 people on that team. Part of that will be looking at enrollment projections as well as our adequacy study and other things that are being done by the vendor that we're working with. That enrollment projection, I would say we're probably going to get sometime maybe January-ish into the spring. And that's all I have.
All right. Treasurer's report.
Sorry, I got to get
That's
this
all right.
little technology
Take your time.
set up. Okay, we got it. So I'm going to give a brief presentation, mainly just hitting on, Diane and I have given a lot of levy facts meetings over the last month, so it means we've gotten a lot of questions as well, and some of those questions are reoccurring. So this presentation kind of hits on some of those reoccurring questions. First one, we get a lot of questions about enrollment. How are our enrollment projections going compared to actuals and those kinds of things. So our current projections for enrollment are based on the enrollment study that we had done back in December of 2021. That performed by FutureThink. As Diane mentioned, we've been running pretty close to what those projections were. When I do the 5-year forecast assumptions, I don't go exact number by number. I just go based on an average, so I just assume 100 students per year, which lines up with that enrollment study. As Diane mentioned, we are updating that enrollment study with a release date early in 2025 expected. Some of the main changes that will be coming in there, there have been quite a few housing developments and apartments that would not have been in that original study because they weren't known at that time. So that'll be an update, things that will be updated in that study. And then another big change will be the preschool program. So at the time that the original study was done, we weren't housing as many preschool students. So that was a big change that obviously impacted our classrooms and available classroom space. So this slide looks at actual versus projected enrollment. So that October 2022, that's the first year after our enrollment study. So you can see there the red being actual, the blue being the projection. So then in year 1, October 22, projections were pretty much spot on.
Second year, October 23, actual came in about 80 students over projection. Now, like I said, the big driver there was that preschool. That's where we ended up taking on, I believe, 2 preschool classrooms that we didn't previously have. So that was really the main reason why we were over projections there. And then October 24, which is our current year, we're actually pretty much right back on track. So those out years, we'll see how those go. Those numbers could change when we get our updated projections. This slide here is basically my favorite slide. This is the revenue per pupil. I think from our levy fact standpoint, I think this is the most important information that we can share in the community. As it says there, 98% of Ohio schools operate with more revenue per pupil than Marysville. Marysville has the 14th lowest revenue per pupil out of 606 schools in the state. That means there's only 13 schools in the entire state of Ohio that operate with less revenue per pupil than Marysville schools. So that red line there shows you the state average, but the schools on the left there, those are all of the Central Ohio schools. And you can see there, we're at the very bottom of revenue per pupil for Central Ohio, and we're at the bottom by a pretty good amount, to the point where if we had already passed this levy and put that $6.3 million onto this slide per pupil, from a per pupil basis, we would still be the last in Central Ohio, even with this levy. So we're way behind. Another thing we talk a lot about when it comes to the levy is revenues versus expenses, because that's really what it comes down to. Expenses are exceeding revenues, so we've got to either decrease expenditures or increase revenues. So what this slide shows, if you look at the top line, the orange line, those are projected expenditures, okay? As you can see, those exceed the revenues that are below. The green line is projected revenues, and then so I added, I'm not sure what color you want to make that, blue or turquoise. That is the proposed levy, and if it were to pass, that's the revenue that would be added to the forecast. So as you can see, if the levy passes, the revenue that would be added, revenues would still be exceeded by expenditures in each year of the forecast, and in those out years, the gap is still relatively large. Another question we get a lot is about the residential TIFs and the agreement that we have with the city. So just to highlight that again for anyone that maybe doesn't have a full understanding of that. First off, this agreement only relates to new levies. This agreement has no impact on existing levies. But for new levies in residential TIF areas, the school would receive the full revenue as if the TIF didn't exist. Okay, so instead of getting that 34% split that we get with our existing levies, we'll get a 100% of the school levy revenue. Those residential TIF areas I listed there, Walker Meadows, Keystone Crossing, Chestnut Crossing, Adena Point, Lynx Village, Woods at Mill Valley, The Legends, and Scott's Farms. For people living in those areas, if you go to the county auditor website, this is an area that's also caused some confusion. And there's a Where Do My Taxes Go tab that is really some valuable information there. But if you live in one of those areas, it's going to show that 99% of your taxes go to the city. And that is actually true, but the reason that is because it goes to the city in the form of the TIF revenue, and then that 34% split, the city sends that revenue to the district. So I just want to point that out, because even if this levy passes, that's not going to change. It's still going to show that 99% is going to the city, but the city will be sending us that full revenue back for the new levy. Regarding valuation in those residential TIF areas, so there's and how does it, we've talked about how that agreement would lead to an additional over $900,000 of revenue. So I wanted to give a little bit of detail on that. So the valuation in all of those residential TIF areas combined is roughly not $496 million. So this number is a little dated. There's an update for this year that I don't have, so that number is probably a little low. It'll probably be a little higher than that. Worth noting that if you look at our nearly $1.2 billion valuation for the district, over half of our total valuation is in a TIF area if you look at residential and commercial TIFs combined. So that's a very significant number. But the way we come up with the math to that additional revenue, so you take the $496 million that is the residential TIFs only, times 35% to get a taxable value, that leads to $173 million, times the 5.5 mils, which is 0.0055, equates to $955,000. So that's where that number comes from. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the Marysville Partners in Education, or the PI Committee as it's known. If anybody's not aware of that, a lot of people put a lot of volunteer hours in to create this information. The Chamber of Commerce came together to create this volunteer committee. It's chaired by Steve Stolte and Dave Amrine. The mission, I put the mission statement in 2 words. Nobody ever has a 2-word mission statement, but this is how I summarized it for you. It's really just transparent communication. It's so people can just see the facts and get all the facts that they want. And so the website there is marysvillepartnersIneducation.com. I will go there just to give you a quick highlight. So if you go to the front page there, it's going to give you a whole bunch of just little quick hit facts that you can scroll through. Hit the about, and it talks about, but it gives you the real mission, the longer verbiage of the mission, who they are. It gives a list of all the people that volunteered to be on the committee. A lot of names on there that are very involved in the community and the community leaders. If you click on the facts tab, it just gives a lot of facts. I can't imagine there's a question someone would have that wouldn't be answered here, because they're very thorough, very in-depth, not only just on taxes and dollars, but also on very many other topics. You can look at teacher salaries. How do we compare to other districts in the area? How do we compare academically with other districts? All those types of things. And then there's the resource tab. That gets into funding, academics, talks about our facilities. They also did a community survey that you can look at the results of that. So like I said, didn't want to go too deep into that, but just wanted to make sure that everyone goes and checks out the website. It will be a lot of very valuable information there. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Well, I would say that if you haven't had your questions answered, we'd like to remind everyone that we are still having a group talk Monday, 5 o'clock here. I think we've announced that. But we'd like to remind everybody to get out and vote on November 5th. Also would like to thank Partners in Education subgroup, and since we've just demonstrated how to get there, we won't go over that again. On Sunday, October 13th, we had a board coffee. There were no visitors.
No visitors.
So hopefully that means we're doing something right, but who knows? Reminder to all board members, OSBA conferences November 10th through the 12th. A lot of good training and good time there, so hopefully everybody's going to that. We also have board building visits scheduled for October 28th and 29th. Mrs. Allen sent us a spreadsheet earlier this week. Please make sure you signed up for a visitation time slot, and I will make this comment. If there's no room, bump me, and I'll figure out something else. So don't think you have to work around what I put in there. I'm very flexible starting today. All right, and what's next here? Student Achievement Report, and
just a few things to highlight from the schools. Bunsold celebrated 26 Mighty Monarchs, they call them, for character attributes. The September was they were focusing on responsibility. ECHS had 44 students placed in internship this first semester, and they expect a comparable number next semester. And then elementary schools are celebrating their first Student of the Month award winners. Congratulations to all those kids.
Thank you. And I assume there's no legislative report.
Yeah, Jermaine contacted me. The legislature is not in session. There have been a couple of bills introduced, but nothing there. He did want me to remind people that you can vote now, and hopefully people will participate in the democratic process.
And Safety and Drug Committee report, don't think we have that either tonight. So we're moving on to draft minutes of the last meeting. We need a motion to approve those.
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready for a vote on that.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes. And now we need a motion to recommend to approve policies. It looked to me like those are just rewording.
And those are all limited by a date. So there were certain things that came out in the summer and they were date bound and they need to be approved by that time. So these policies in particular are more one and done. You have one opportunity, and then the other ones are sorted out as your first reads.
Okay. Any questions?
I would note that these policies are all a result of changes in state law, so there's not really a decision.
Right, right. Any other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Did we get a motion?
Oh, I think I talked
No,
first.
Matt,
I'll motion.
hold me on that. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Now, is there any discussion, Mr. Smith?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes. Okay. And that, let's see here. That takes us to a resolution, correct? All right. Recommend to approve a resolution to authorize,
We were at first read policies.
oh, I didn't know those are separated out. All right. Do we have a motion to accept the first read policies?
I don't think that was a motion. I think that's
Just take a look at those?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any questions or anything you can get with us, Jonathan or I, to discuss those?
Yeah, again, most of these, as I went through, were in response to changes in state law, and the policies that are up for adoption have been recommended in many cases by Ohio School Board Association legal counsel to try to make sure that the wording is consistent with what the law is trying to achieve. So.
Okay, then we need a motion to recommend to approve a resolution to authorize and direct OSBA to make policy changes due to House Bill 33 impacting ODE and SBOE.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there an explanation?
Sure. So in essence, language is the issue here now. Who has State Board of Education role has changed compared to ODEW. And instead of having to bring each one of those forward, it allows for that to happen and OSBA to make those changes for us.
Great. No discussion?
I would say that I'm on a advisory to the State Board of Education, and the role of the State Board has been significantly reduced and is much more focused now. And I know that there are pages and pages and pages of documents where it's going to be a change from the Department of Education to the Department of Workforce, Education and Workforce. And that's what this is really all about, just making sure that the right names are on the right things. The actions that are taking place will still take place. It's just a matter of whether they happen with the state board or whether they happen within the executive branch department. So.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. And the next one is a motion to recommend to approve a resolution in support of Red Ribbon Month 2024. I know Jermaine's not here, and that's kind of his thing, so
I'll move.
is there a second?
Adopt.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Jermaine asked me to say that this is something that we do annually, and it's not just we pass the resolution and move on, that our buildings are engaged in activities that in support of the Red Ribbon campaign, that we at the building level and classroom levels are very engaged in this important work. So.
All right. All those in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. And now we need a motion to recommend the approval of all treasure items.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any questions and/or explanation?
Yeah, two big things I would highlight. One, on appropriations, there's a $110,000 grant that we received from the county. That money is being used for behavior specialists to help with some of the behaviors that are happening in the schools, so that's very beneficial. And secondly, I would note on the main treasure items page, there's that PNC rebate. That's an annual requirement that we report that to the board. Basically, it's the same as anyone that has their own personal credit card and they get points. The school does the same thing. When possible, we use a PNC procurement card to make purchases to save the district money in the form of the rebate that we receive back. And that was close to $8,200 that we received for this year.
I would say that BCBA grant is the one we talked about last spring. So the RBTs that we hired as aides have to work under the umbrella of a BCBA, behavior specialist. And so the donation is new, but it's a position that we already talked about and started on grant funding.
How many of those folks do we have? I had that question today, believe it or not.
So we only have one BCBA through that grant, and then 5 behavioral specialists that report to that person. Then we already had one staff member that has a BCBA background, but she also serves in another capacity as well.
So we have 4 total, or
1 BCBA, 5 behavior
all
specialists.
5 specialists?
So weren't we originally expecting 10? No.
Starting at elementary and then hoping to move the model up.
Okay.
Cool. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Keck?
Yes.
And Mr. Smith?
Yes.
All right, and now we need a motion to recommend to approve all the superintendent action items.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second?
Any explanation there?
I would just like to highlight 2 retirements. Pam Forder out of our office is retiring, and also Jodine Lowry from SAC, who have spent many years here in Marysville. So we want to wish them well, next chapter of their life.
Yeah, I'm always impressed, particularly this time of year. We had over 2 pages of volunteer names. So it's nice to see parents and others in the community helping to support the academic programs in our school district. There are also a number of other volunteers that are on the HR that are involved in athletics and some of the other extracurricular programs. And so it's reassuring to see that support coming from the communities.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Keck?
Yes. And see, that brings us to comments from the gallery. Mr. Smith, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to limit to one thing. I went to the early college high school for the design challenge today, and that's always an interesting event. There were somewhere near 20 different businesses, individuals, organizations that came in and spent time today explaining a challenge that they're currently facing and asking our students to choose their particular problem as one that the students would investigate and try to come up with a solution for. And I focused on a presentation from Tom McCarthy, who is the manager of Second Chance's thrift store. And the problem that he presented to the students was one that I would never have thought of. But they get lots of donations, and not everything that people want to donate to them is something that they can accept or use. So he's looking for an AI program that would allow someone to take pictures or in some way indicate, this is what I want to donate. The program would decide whether or not that's acceptable, whether Second Chances would be able to use it. And if they can, then make arrangements for it to be picked up or dropped off or whatever the individual wants. And that if it's not something that they can use, that the donor would then be directed to a different charity that would accept that particular item. And coming up with a solution to the problem of going out, picking up things, finding out this isn't something we can really work with, and then having to go through the time and the expense of trying to get it to somebody else diminishes the amount of money that they have that they can use for goods in our community. So I thought it was a real interesting program. Tom was very open to suggestions and questions and asking kids to really kind of give him some feedback on his presentation today. And the students went through a series of different presentations, and then we'll have an opportunity to choose one that they have a particular interest in. So hopefully there'll be some students who want to look at this and try to see if they can figure it out. He presented a budget and said, you know, there's going to be this much money to help, you know, pay for the cost of this. And so we'll see what the kids come up with on this. So it's a great program. The teachers, advisors that set this thing up, it's a fantastic hands-on experience for the kids, very connected to the real world and very connected to local businesses, industry, and our community. So kudos to everybody who was involved in it. It's always fascinating.
Mr. Keller.
Yeah, it's great seeing student events taking place and celebrating our kids' example, homecoming. My daughter had a great time. I'd like to thank the Levy Committee for all their work. I know there were some people representing the committee door to door in my neighborhood. Your efforts are applauded. Thank you. And those that have questions out there, I've had a lot the last several days. I'm texting Diane last night to get an answer to a community member. Please continue to ask questions about your yes, hopefully yes vote for the levies so that we can get you accurate information.
Okay, next.
I just want to express our first congratulations to the National Merit Scholarships. That's wonderful. And also our employees that received awards tonight. That's super awesome. I love when our staff members are recognized at the board meeting. Thank you to the FFA program officers for coming and sharing their story. I'm constantly amazed at all that FFA does. There was no FFA where I went to high school, and so I'm constantly amazed. Also to the principals and assistant principals from Early College High School, Marysville High School. I love highlighting all of our pathways and our connection between the educational system and the workforce system. I think we must be cutting edge as far as our school district goes, as far as connecting young people from their educational system to what they want to do as a future career, and having them try, and if they learn that they want to pursue something, or even just as valuable, learning that they don't want to pursue something. It's a great learning experience.
Okay, and I would like to second what Ms. Savage said about cutting edge. I think if you look at our programs across the board, we have an awful lot of state and national winners in just about every field, including athletics. And I know there's something that comes across my Facebook page almost every day that's noteworthy, that's state level. And, I hope we continue that. I think sometimes maybe I fear that the community gets used to it and doesn't realize that it is outstanding. You can go almost anywhere in this country. If you meet someone that has heard of us, it'll be a positive response. There's something there for the community to really, really be proud of. Not just the looks of our buildings, but the content within them. So I'd like to thank Mrs. Allen for that part of it. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And a second?
I'll second.
And we're ready for a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. And that's a wrap.